Okay, Andy XL for another NFXL podcast on this, the first NFL Sunday of the season. So, having gone 2 for 2 in the first two games in predicting the winners, I called the Eagles and the Chargers. Eagles not too difficult, but Chargers most people or a lot of people wouldn't have called. So let's have a look at the Sunday games, and let's start with Tampa Bay at Atlanta. The Bucks come into this season having been top 10 ranked for pass and run offense, and also for their run defense. It's just the pass defense that they need to improve from last season. And having added to their pass rushing unit and drafted two new members of their secondary on day two of the 2025 draft, that should improve that pass defense for this season. But the way to attack them is probably via the pass rather than the run. That probably remains the case. For Atlanta, they spent their four early draft picks on defense, two on much needed pass rushes, which were desperately needed, and two in the secondary. They had a top 10 ground attack and a mid ranked pass run defense last season, Bijan Robinson being the main reason for that ground attack, whilst their pass offense was average at best and their pass defense was amongst the worst in the league, mainly due to that non existent pass rush. So those draft additions will certainly help, but whether they're going to help in week one, that's a bit early for them to immediately pay off, but we'll see. But more work is still needed, as is time for those young players to find their feet in the NFL. The Falcons beat the Bucks in the first meeting between the two seasons last season, as Kirk Cousins, Drake London, and Darnell Mooney all had great games to get them an overtime victory. In the rematch, Cousins was excellent again, with four passing touchdowns as Mooney again and Kyle Pitts had good games. The Bucks without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin for that second game, though. So both games, Kirk Cousins had his two best games of the season, probably. So the question is, can Michael Penix repeat the performances of Kirk Cousins in two of his best showings for the Falcons? And to get the Falcons to win this one, though, the Bucks seem to be able to limit Bijan Robinson on the ground. So if that's the case, Penix really needs to deliver here. I would see the Bucks as a much better and deeper team going into this season than they were last season. But without Godwin, Tristan Wirfs, and with issues in their secondary, and also Vita Vea being a doubt on the D line, this could be a close call for the Bucks. But I still have them winning this one with a balanced offense that's going to be too powerful for the Falcons. High scoring game. I'll say 31-27 Bucks. Right, quick drink, then we'll go on to the next game. And that's Cincinnati Bengals at Cleveland Browns. Now, previewing Bengals games is one of the easier tasks when it comes to looking at NFL games. It pretty much comes down to the same question for every game. Can the opposition limit the Bengals' passing attack? And can they put enough points on the board themselves to win the game? In the two games between these two teams last season, the Bengals scored 21 and 24 points, with the Browns mustering just 20 points in the two games combined. I can see the Browns being better in terms of run offense and defense this season, but they need to be much better on both sides of the passing game to beat the Bengals. And to be quite frank, they're not. One thing to note, though, is that the Bengals have not won in week one since 2019. Sorry, they've won in week one just once since 2019, and that took overtime to do so. So they have a poor record on week one, the Bengals. If the Bengals are to challenge this season, these are games they need to win and win comfortably. So I have to take the Bengals to win this, and probably with a bit in hand. So 24-17 to the Bengals, even though they've got that dire week one record. So let's move on. Miami Dolphins at Indianapolis Colts. The Colts' offensive strength is their run game, which is the Dolphins' defensive strength. So it's strength on strength there. The Dolphins' run offense is pretty evenly matched against the Colts' defense. So this could come down to which team gets on top in the passing game. The Dolphins' pass defense was pretty good last season, but does not look as good this season. However, the Colts' passing offense was very poor last season, mainly the pass offense was poor last season, mainly due to poor quarterback play. So Daniel Jones is going to get the start here. Can he change that picture? When the two teams met last season, the Colts won a low scoring affair 16-10. but had to make do with a combination of Tyler Huntley and Tim Doyle at quarterback in the absence of Tua Tagovailoa. For the Colts, Andy Richardson in that game completed just 10 of 24 passes for a meager 129 yards. So, poor quarterback play from both there. With Tua back under centre for this one, the Colts will need better quarterback play if they're to get a winning start. Like I say, that puts the onus on Daniel Jones. I think he's the better option than Richardson. He'll be behind the 16th ranked O-line, according to Pro Football Network, rather than the 28th ranked Colander that is the Giants O-line. So Jones will get better protection. Can he deliver? Could be close. I'll take the Dolphins 20-17. Carolina Panthers, Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a matchup between two poor teams from last season who have made some nice additions via the draft and in the Panthers' case via free agency too. Both should have much improved pass offences as a result, and the Panthers could also be much improved in terms of rush defence, as they were okay in terms of rush offence last season too. Quick drink. For the Jags to win this, last year's first round pick Brian Thomas and this year's first rounder Travis Hunter, who looks like he's going to play more offense than defense initially, will have to lead the way offensively with the help of Tim Patrick and quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, who needs to play like a first overall pick. For the Panthers, Chuba Hubbard and possibly Rico Dowdle may need to lead the way on the ground. Again, a tough one to call looking at the stats, but my instinct has me leaning towards the Jags here, so I'll take the Jags to win another close one, 27-24. Right, on to the Las Vegas Raiders at the New England Patriots. Patriots were awful until Drake May took over at quarterback last season, but they have had a superb off-season via draft and free agency. I think they've really nailed it. The Raiders have also made one or two nice additions as they seek to build for the future. The Raiders were average defensively, but below average for pass offense and amongst the lowest ranked for rush offense last season. Now they have Ashton Gianti at running back. That will change this season. He's going to be superb. He's going to be a star. They already have another star in Brock Bowers at tight end. So the drafted round one nailed it the last two seasons. That should stand them in good stead for the future. Two elite talents they have there. But they do not have any top-end wide receivers. And the thing about Jacoby Myers is a cloud on that as well. The Pats are an entirely different proposition from last season. But with so much change having taken place on their roster, it might take a few games for them to become a fully cohesive unit. But the defensive additions are all experienced players, so should be pretty good from day one. And for that reason, I see the Patriots keeping the Raiders scoring in check here and getting the win in what could be a low-scoring affair. 20-17 for the Pats for me in this one. Right, Arizona at New Orleans Saints. The Cardinals are a team many see as potential dark horses this season. The Saints are a team many see as set to struggle this season. I think the Cardinals have a roster that is not far from being a really good one, and the Saints is a team that will do better than most expect this season. And to reflect those thoughts, this one will be closer call rather than a cruise for the Cardinals, as far as I'm concerned. The Cardinals' potential weaknesses are their pass offense and their run defense, which could be good news for the Saints, as their run offense is above average. The Saints' pass offense, with their main wide receivers back to full health, should also be much better than last season. I know that you can question who's the quarterback. Spencer Rattler's getting another go, which doesn't mean that Tyler Shug, I should say, has done anything pre-season to light the place up. So, I still expect the Saints passing game to be improved from last season, though, with their receivers back. And the other thing now is that Kyler Murray's apparently going to be playing ill in this game. So, how's that going to affect his performance? Regardless of how that pans out, I still think this will be a close one. Offensively, the Cardinals could have joy via the running game, so this could turn into a battle of the ground attacks. but they are so evenly matched in that area, it could be that the Cardinals managed to do just enough with their passing offense to get the W against Spencer Rattler and the Saints. So I'll go 23-20 for the Cardinals. Pittsburgh at New York Jets. Quarterbacks are the talk of every game preview pretty much, but with the two teams having starters who played for the other team last season, that is going to dominate pre-game talk for this one. Aaron Rodgers was not bad for the Jets last season, but was nowhere near the quarterback he once was. And he will be up against one of the best pass defenses in the league in this game. And with Najee Harris having left, they may struggle to move the ball on the ground too, unless rookie Caleb Johnson literally hits the ground running. But the bad news for Rodgers in the running game is that the Steelers lost two members of their O-line from last season. So this unit may not be able to provide the protection and running lanes those guys are looking for. Having said that, Justin Fields may not fare any better on the other side of the ball, as the Jets still look to be highly reliant on Garrett Wilson in their passing game, and the running game could struggle against what was a good Steelers rush defense last season. The Steelers have revamped their secondary in an attempt to improve what was a below-average pass defense last season, so maybe the Jets can have some joy there. As two teams that have made significant changes in key positions this offseason, this is a tricky one to call early in the season, and I have a feeling neither offense will fire early this season. So in a low-scoring game, and I think this will be the lowest-scoring game of the week, and with more field goals and TDs, I will plump for the Steelers to get a narrow win by 19-16. New York Giants at Washington Commanders. No real change for the Giants from last season. They have an elite pass rushing unit, and it's going to be even better than last season. Now they've got another exceptional talent from the draft in Abdul Carter on board, but they have an O-line that continues to be one of the worst in the league, and that has to change. So for them, this means they need to get to the other team's quarterback more than theirs gets mashed due to their own O-line weaknesses. Good luck, Russell Wilson, and whoever else is offered up as sacrifice for the Giants this season, unless that O-line suddenly manages to improve. The Commanders and Jaden Daniels were a revelation last season. He certainly helped their run offense become one of the best in the league with his abilities in that area. And their pass offense was a top half-ranked unit too, and will be better for the addition of Deebo Samuel this season, although he is going to do some running as well. Defensively, they were excellent against the pass, but poor against the run. Hence why they have tried to improve the interior of their D-line this off-season. Without Dante Fowler, their pass rush may be a little weaker this season, but Dorrance Armstrong, Frankie Louvu and co will still be looking forward to meeting Russell Wilson up close and personal in this one. With Daniels being so mobile, he may be able to avoid getting hit as many times as Wilson will be, although it may be on the ground that the Commanders control this. Even though Brian Robinson's moved on, they've still got options there. Austin Ekeler, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is probably going to start in his first game, and then Chris Rodriguez as a possible goal line threat. Red zone efficiency was an issue for them last season against the Giants when Austin Seibert kicked 7 field goals to get them the winning week 2 and 2 more in the second game against just 3 touchdowns across the 2 games. Some improvement there would help them to an easy win though. And I think they're going to win this fairly easy because they're just a better team than the Giants. The Commanders 30, Giants 17 is how I have that one. So that's the early stock done. Let's crack on with the late ones. Tennessee Titans at Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos are my pick in the survivor pool this week. So they're the team I would see as one of the most likely to win, and also probably this is the week to use them. Let's have a quick drink. To counter that, the Titans will hope Cam Ward has the same transformational, easy for me to say, effect that Bo Nix had for the Broncos last season. But to do that from week 1 is a very big ask, especially as Ward will not improve the modest run offense and weak run defense. The Titans will be better than last season, But with a lot of new faces, this will take time to come together as the 2025 season progresses and probably beyond into 2026 before we see them as anything better than a developing team. Knicks might have grabbed all the headlines last season, but it was the defence that was their greatest strength, particularly against the run, and they look likely to be better against the pass this coming season too. Offensively, nice move by adding Evan Engram at tight end, and they've moved on from Javonte Williams at running back. Now they have J.K. Dobbins and rookie R.J. Harvey. That looks a better option for them. They've also got Aldrich Estime and Jaleel McLaughlin. So there's a pretty deep running back committee there. The Broncos are just a better team than the Titans, and it could be the running game that makes the difference here, as the Broncos will be able to run the ball, and I doubt the Titans will have much joy on that front. So I'm going Broncos with a thumping 27-13 win. 49ers at Seahawks. The 49ers have paid Brock Purdy the big bucks now, and he has to deliver on that contract. He's no longer seen as the nice story, Mr. Irrelevant, not paid very much. Now he's getting paid. He has to deliver. The Seahawks decided not to pay Geno Smith and have brought in Sam Darnold following his good season with Minnesota last season. But Darnold will not have the same level of receiving weapons available to him, and that could see a reversion yet from him in 2025. Seattle were okay defensively last season, but they are now without DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, a wide receiver. They've added Cooper Kupp to go alongside Jackson Smith and Jigba, but their own line needs to improve markedly if they're able to run the ball well this coming season. Long term, the 49ers need Brandon Ayuk back to go with Juwan Dennings and Ricky Pearsall, as they've allowed Deebo Samuel to move on. The 49ers went defense heavy in the draft. It may take a bit of time at the start of the season for that defense to get up to full power as the draft picks acclimatise to life in the NFL. For me, this really is a toss of a coin to which way it will go, but I'll go for a 49ers narrow win, provided the late CMC Christian McCaffrey injury scare does not affect him significantly. So 24-20 49ers is how I see this. Right. Now we come to one of the games of the week. Chiefs and Chargers was one because it could be pivotal in that division. And this could be same in the NFC North. The Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers. The Packers ranked in the top 12 for pass and rush offense and defense last season, although they were strongest for run offense, as they ranked 5th in the league in that department. They're pretty good all round, in other words. They added 2 wide receivers via the draft to what was already a crowded wide receiver core. So they're certainly not short of options in most games there, but there's several of them. There's a few here: Savion Williams, Jaden Reed amongst them, and Dontavian Wicks that look like they're out for this game. So not as many options as they might have going forward. Their O-line is a really good one that allows both their pass and run offense to put up good numbers. Detroit will have a different coaching team in support of head coach Dan Campbell, with both offensive coordinators having left from last season to go to head coaching roles elsewhere. They made some nice draft picks to improve, but losing Frank Ragnow to retirement at centre potentially is a big hole to fill in that heart of their O-line. The Lions won both meetings between these two teams last season, despite Josh Jacobs putting up good numbers in both games. And with their pass rush back to full strength, and assuming Micah Parsons is healthy for this game, making his debut, quarterbacks beware in this one. There's going to be plenty of action from the pass rushers on both sides. That contest between the Lions and Packers pass rushers and the opposing O-lines would be great to watch, and may well determine who comes out on top here in what is another really tough one to call. I'm going to edge for the Packers here. That loss of Frank Ragnow could mean that Sonic and Knuckles do not put up numbers they did last season until the O-line comes together for the Lions. So I'm going to take the Packers to edge this one at Lambeau 27-24. But it's going to be a great watch. That's the game I'm most looking forward to this week. All right, I'll have another quick drink. And then we'll move on to the Houston Texans at the LA Rams. Texans have done a lot of work to fix a bad O-line from last season, and have also added at wide receiver, and Christian Kirk, and 2 draft picks, early draft picks from Iowa State, Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. Even though Tank Dale is out for the season, that gives them good options at wide receiver. But with Kirk and Braxton Berrios set to miss this one, that puts a big onus on those 2 rookies to deliver in game 1. However quickly that O-line beds in and comes together will be key to the Texans' early season form as well. They also added defensively, so should be a top 10 defense in 2025. For the Rams, outside of their pass offense, they were ranked in the top half of the league for defense, they were not ranked in the top half of the league for defense or run offense. Davante Adams replaces Cooper Kupp as a veteran wide receiver, so the pass offense should be at full strength again. As I've hinted at, I do have concerns about the run game though, and I think Kyren Williams could be set for a down year, judged on his downward trending stats from 2024. But I expect their young, talented defense to improve in 2025, although I have to say the secondary is still a concern. In this one, though, it's going to be a high-scoring affair. And I'm going to take the Rams to sneak an opening win in LA, but it may even require OT. So I'll go overtime win for the Rams, 30-24. So that's the early and late Sunday slots go. I'm going to squeeze in the Sunday night game as well. The Ravens at the Bills. It's another great week 1 matchup between 2 teams that can make the postseason in recent years, but have yet to find a way to get themselves a Super Bowl ring in this generation. And this coming season, these are 2 teams that could once again be competing to represent the AFC in the season finale. Pass defense was the Achilles heel for the Bills last season, and they were once again one of the league's offensive powerhouses. Although for me, they could still do with more at wide receiver, having lost Amari Cooper and Matt Collins and replaced them with Josh Palmer and Elijah Moore. Getting Joey Bosa, if they can keep him healthy, will strengthen what was a really good pass rushing unit, and Maxwell Hairston and Tre'Davious White will help their secondary too. The Ravens had an even more potent offense than the Bills last season, and when they got their pass defense together in the second half of the season, they looked the team everybody will have to beat. But they lost to these Bills in a high-scoring divisional round classic to once again fall short in the postseason. They look slightly stronger on offense ahead of this season, despite the departure of Patrick Mekari from their O-line. They've added DeAndre Hopkins at wide receiver, which could turn out as a good veteran move. Defensively, the injury to Ardarius Washington means a greater reliance on rookie safety Malachi Starks to perform from week 1. And that could be a slight concern. He made some high-profile errors in his college season career. He can't afford them early in his NFL career. In the regular season game between these 2 seasons, the Ravens routed the Bills with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson combining for over 250 yards on the ground, and Justice Hill having a great game as a receiving back too. So for the Bills to repeat their postseason win from last season, they have to limit that Ravens ground attack in some way, whilst finding a way to put points on the board. They were helped in the playoff game by fumbles recovered from Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews, and that they scored a TD and a field goal from them. 10 points came from those 2 fumbles. Unless they can create those turnovers again here, I fancy the Ravens to get a big road win in Buffalo by 30 points to 24. So that's it for me. I'll come back with a preview of the Monday night game tomorrow. But that's how I see Sunday evening's games going, and let's see whether I can get anywhere near my 100% record that I've got so far. All right, enjoy the first week of the season. Red Zone will be back in full action, and we'll all be tuned into that. So it should be exciting in week 1. See you soon.